This is from How to Use a Map. Once you're familiar with the language of maps, you'll find out many things. You will dismantle them. You will create your own. You must know, many of us find our way without ever using a map. A physical map of San Francisco reveals high points of Twin Peaks and low points of Ocean Beach, stretches of land and rock tips that reach for the sea. Cultural maps reveal human-made features, movie theaters and museums, hospitals and highways, rainbow flags and bathhouses, glass buildings and boundaries. A boundary, like heartbreak, is a people-made thing. A map will have symbols and information to make it easier to understand. Everything will be a certain distance and direction from a starting point. For those of us who are queer and grew up in San Francisco, people will assume we have an easy passage to coming out, that the beginning and end points are well defined, that we'll recognize the symbols within ourselves and we'll call them gay or queer, lesbian or bisexual, butch, trans, intersex, femme, and on. Like everyone else, we're raised to understand other symbols based on race and class, but most of us are not given a map to queerness. For instance, I was born at San Francisco General Hospital in January of 1980, the first child to a self-proclaimed Chicano father and a first-generation Mexican-American mother. My mom cleaned houses and offices when I was born. On the job, she placed me in a laundry basket that she could easily scoot next to her. My dad was a tile setter and an artist. We lived on the corner of 8th and Folsom, but they worried about raising a baby there. My dad had a small studio at 70 Langton Street, but it didn't have heat, so we stayed with my dad's parents in Hayward after I was born and moved back to San Francisco when I was 10. Some relatives told my parents I'd turn out to be gay, while others said they'd never visit the city. It's easier to find a way if you have a compass, but what happens when the compass has to be within yourself? I don't remember saying, I want to be gay when I grow up. No one told me I could decide to fall asleep and wake up next to a woman day in and day out. When you step into queerness, when you finally find it for yourself, you'll inherit another history you must navigate. In some ways, it crosses the race, class, and gender lines, you know. It muddies perceptions of gender and presentation. It stubbornly keeps some boundaries, and it stretches across others. For instance, when I look back upon the images of gay men on the B5 AIDS ward of San Francisco General in the 80s, not far from where and when I was born, how they were set aside there because they couldn't get adequate care otherwise, how the nurses were there not to save lives, but to witness death, insisting they'd work nowhere else, a part of me reaches out, claims them, and adds them to my map. It's my pleasure now to introduce Portia, Ilan, and Lambda follow in.